Addiction is a medical condition characterized by compulsive engagement in rewarding stimuli, despite adverse consequences. Despite the involvement of a number of psychosocial factors, a biological process, one which is induced by repeated exposure to an addictive stimulus, is the core pathology that drives the development and maintenance of an addiction. The two properties that characterize all addictive stimuli are that they are reinforcing, that is, they increase the likelihood that a person will seek repeated exposure to them, and intrinsically rewarding, that is, perceived as being positive or desirable. Addiction is a disorder of the brain's reward system which arises through transcriptional and epigenetic mechanisms and occurs over time from chronically high levels of exposure to an addictive stimulus, for example, morphine, cocaine, sexual intercourse, gambling, etc. FOSB, a gene transcription factor, is a critical component and common factor in the development of virtually all forms of behavioral and drug addictions. 2 decades of research into FOSB's role in addiction have demonstrated that addiction arises, and the associated compulsive behavior intensifies or attenuates, along with the genetic overexpression of FOSB in the D1-type medium spiny neurons of the nucleus accumbens. Due to the causal relationship between FOSB expression and addictions, it is used preclinically as an addiction biomarker. FOSB expression in these neurons directly and positively regulates drug self-administration and reward sensitization through positive reinforcement, while decreasing sensitivity to aversion. Addiction is a condition that results when a person ingests a substance, for example alcohol, nicotine and cocaine, or engages in a different activity such as gambling, sexual relationships and social media. Addiction exacts a high toll on individuals and society as a whole through the direct adverse effects of drugs, associated healthcare costs, long-term complications, for example, lung cancer with smoking tobacco, liver cirrhosis with drinking alcohol, or meth mouth from intravenous methamphetamine, the functional consequences of altered neural plasticity in the brain, and the consequent loss of productivity. Classic hallmarks of addiction include impaired control over substances or behavior, preoccupation with substance or behavior, and continued use despite consequences. Habits and patterns associated with addiction are typically characterized by immediate gratification, short-term reward, coupled with delayed deleterious effects, long-term costs. Examples of drug and behavioral addictions include alcoholism, amphetamine addiction, cocaine addiction, nicotine addiction, opiate addiction, food addiction, gambling addiction, and sexual addiction. The only behavioral addiction recognized by the DSM-5 is gambling addiction. The term addiction is misused frequently to refer to other compulsive behaviors or disorders, particularly dependence, in news media.